Hello friends, and welcome to The Chaos. This is our 6th installment of redoing my bookshelf. I could explain, but I won't. As opposed to the other times that I have done this video, I am going to be doing something a little bit different. Over the course of the past few months of traveling, I have figured out exactly how to secure my bookshelf so nothing goes flying about. With that being said, I now would like to try and add some decor and pizzazz back to my bookshelf. Right now it is definitely more a storage space for my books than like a cute space that I want to go and like just stare at the books inside of my bookshelf. That is going to be our goal for today. I'm actually so excited about it. Another thing is I'm going to be storing some of the books that are a part of a series or are books that I have read but won't be revisiting anytime soon but don't want to get rid of because I will reread them in the future. I'm going to be storing them either underneath where I'm currently sitting, underneath our bed, or in our closet. We're gonna have to figure out where to put the books as well, but that's a problem for later in the video. I'm just more excited about taking all of the books out and looking at them. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's because they're always stored up in those cabinets that taking them all out and just looking at them makes my heart so happy. I'm very amped for today's video. I have this little section here beside me, like on my desk slash dining room slash filming area. I would love to make a TBR stack. So right now I have 3 books that are on my fall TBR. Hey, Tomato. She knows we're gonna go on the bookshelf. You gotta calm down. If you're new here, my cat Tomato is obsessed with my bookshelf and every time I open it, she jumps in there. Definitely look forward to that happening. Like I was saying, I have a little stack here of books that I want to currently pick up and read. I had 4 from my fall TBR sitting here and I've already read 2 of them. So I think it's a very practical way to get through my TBR, but then also it just looks cute and I picked books that have like the same color palette. I'm also open to keeping books in my bedroom as decor or in front of my TV as decor. I want to just be a little bit more creative with our bookshelf reorganization today and be open to using some of the books I would be storing as decor. With that being said, let's open a Coke. Yes, it's Sam's Cola. Don't judge me. Tastes like childhood. Let's go check out what my bookshelves look like before. They're very tragic. Nobody judge me. This is really bad. The potential to be like the worst my bookshelf has ever looked. The blanket, I can explain. Oh God. Hi, Tomato. Yep, there it is. I'm gonna make it better, I promise. I'm so sorry. At one point, I did have this little cabinet open permanently so that she could go up there. I put a pillow there, and then she never went in it again. I tried, guys. I really tried. Tomato. I think the best plan of action is just to take down all of my books, separate them between like what I want to store and what I want to put in my bookshelf. Back to the blanket explanation. So this is where all of my like tinier books are, and I found they moved a lot when we were traveling, even with the pillow there, so I shoved the blanket in there and just haven't moved it for like weeks. Without further ado, let's get to organizing my bookshelf. Here are all my books. Also, of course, ever since I opened up my bookshelves, Tomato is now acting insane, so we might hear her running around. It's honestly not that bad. There's not too many. I actually don't know how many books I have, so we're gonna count them. 17, 18, 19, 53, 54, 55, 56, 97, 98, 99, 100. Honestly, not as bad as I thought it would be. I have 109 books, which is actually not as bad as I once thought it was. So I think that's a win. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is take out all of the books that I have read, decide whether or not they are books I want to store or use as a display / decor. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that first. I've actually read a lot more books than I thought I did. That whole pile is read. I think I want to count up how many books I have read so then I can give you like an estimation of the percent of books I have read and the books that I haven't read. This is still all unread though, so we're not gonna look at that. 30. That's not a lot out of 109. Like a little over 30%. That's not that bad though. As somebody who lives in a tiny space, keeping books that I have read is actually not ideal. So for the most part, after I read a book, if I'm not obsessed with it, I will donate it to a little library. So these are all the books that I am either obsessed with or want to reread again in the future, or they're a part of a big series like the Janet Ivanovich books. That's not that bad because I'm trying not to keep too many books. We'll have to figure out what we want to use as storage, what we want to display, and what we are going to keep in the bookshelf up there. Next order of business, I think, is that let's make some more piles. To be honest, I think all of the Janet books I'm going to store. It's not a series that I'm actively reading right now. It's like every once in a while I'll get the itch to read about these characters. And to be honest, the last two that I've read have kind of been lackluster and just not that interesting like the first ones were. All the Janet ones we're gonna set to the side. I did already find 3 or 4 books I want to donate, so that's a win. Myths of the World is a cool book because it has myths from literally every culture you could imagine, so I like having this, but have I picked it up aside from the day that I got it? No. I honestly think this might be a donate book. I can just Google stuff, right? And I have already flipped through this and read the stuff that was super interesting to me. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the donate pile. Euphoria, one of my favorite authors, Lily King. This is the first book of hers I have ever read. Don't think I'm gonna be rereading this anytime soon. Also, I have like the world's most washed out copy of this because I got it from, I think I got it from Goodwill. I would love to get a better version of this, but at the same time, I annotated in it, so I'm probably not gonna even get rid of this one either. I'm gonna go ahead and store this one though because I'm not gonna be rereading it anytime soon. I just reread Writers and Lovers, and then I read 5 Tuesdays in Winter, which is in this pile too. So I'm kind of good on the Lily King front for right now. I do have her other 3 books that I would love to get and read in the future, but for now, I think I'm gonna put this in the storage pile. On Earth, We Are Briefly Gorgeous. This is a signed first edition. I love the color palette of this one, like just the simple gray, I think could be a really pretty decor piece. I did annotate this one as well, so it's a very near and dear to me book. I don't think I can see myself putting this in storage yet. It is a beat up signed first edition, so it has like definitely been loved by somebody else. That only makes me like a book more, to be honest. My legs are falling asleep. Song of Achilles. This is tough for me. This is definitely one of my favorite books of all time, but do I see myself rereading it anytime soon? No. Maybe next summer, because to me it just screams summertime, even springtime, but I don't see myself reading this anytime soon, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and store it. But is it a book I want to like look at in my bookshelf? Not really. I don't really like the cover that much either. Yeah, I think this is gonna be a storage book. My poetry collections. I really like having these face out because I have a bunch of tabs on each of my poetry books. That's like my favorite thing to do. They just make me happy. So I think I'm gonna keep them in my bookshelf, to be honest. If you're curious about what they are, I have The Truth in Rented Rooms, which is kind of a unknown book that I got from a library sale. Is that where I got this? Yes, this one and The Wolf and Me. I both got these from a library sale. They just are not very well known. Like they have less than 10 reviews on GoodReads and stuff. So I highly recommend checking them out, specifically The Truth in Rented Rooms. This is phenomenal. I don't know what else to say. And then I have Aphrodite May Be Due Do It, which I love this one. I love the tabs that I put on it too. It matches like perfectly. I would love to get the other books by this author. Follow her on Instagram, and she has one called Artemis Made Me Do It. I think Persephone Made Me Do It. They're all just really good, like embracing femininity like type books. Like I just really loved it. And then it has art in it as well. So this is one of my favorites, to be honest. So yeah, I think I'm definitely going to keep them displayed in my bookshelf because they make me happy to look at, and that's enough. Next up are two books that are a part of a fantasy series, so it's kind of hard to figure out what I want to do with them. Like, do I want to keep them with the series, or do I want to store the books that I have read from the series? Okay, I think I do know what I'm gonna do. David Gemmell, love ya, love ya, love ya. Am I going to read all like 9 books of the series that I have right now? No. I think what I'm gonna do is take out the one book that I am currently reading that I've started, which is Legend. It's the first book in this series. This is like the third. I didn't know that at the time. Didn't really matter, to be honest. It totally worked, even just reading it as a standalone, and I am obsessed with this. I love his writing. I love his world. I think I'm just gonna keep Legend out and store the other books in the series. As I read them, take it out. The next one I have is The Bell Jar. Again, this kind of is in line with my poetry books where I just like looking at it and seeing it and remembering how much I love this book. So I think, again, I'm going to keep this one, have it displayed in my bookshelf. Another fantasy one I've read is Mistborn, and I have the other 2 books in this series in my haven't read pile because I haven't read them. I think I want to keep these all together and have them in my bookshelf. It just makes the most sense to me, and they're pretty, like when they're all lined up together. I like looking at them, so we're gonna keep them displayed in my bookshelf. Crush. Crush, 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 crush. You may be asking yourself, Taylor, why? I read, I think, the first 4 books in the Crave series, and I loved Crush. Like, I love this book. Purple is my favorite color, so I don't really have anything else to say about it. I did get this last year, or maybe the beginning of this year, before the news about Tracy Wolff and the lawsuit that's happening between her and another author about the Crave series that I was not aware of. So don't really support that anymore, but I do still love the special edition because of the purple sprayed edges and the purple cover. If I can find room, I will display this. Like, I like just having the purple brick in my bookshelf because I love purple. So yeah, I think if we can find a way, then that would be ideal. And I do want to reread this one at some point. We'll see. My legs are falling asleep. Oh my god. Next up on the docket is 5 Tuesdays in Winter by Lily King, which is the book I mentioned that I had just read. I finished this yesterday. So when I mean I just read it, I really mean it. This wasn't my favorite. There were 2 short stories in this that I really enjoyed that I gave 5 stars. This is the first time I've ever done this in a book, and I'm going to do it from here on out when it comes to short story collections, but I starred each short story individually. So I have 2 that I gave 5 stars. Most of them were like 3.5-ish. To be honest, as the collection progressed, they just got worse and worse. This one I gave 3 stars on GoodReads. I annotated it, so a part of me wants to keep it because I love Lily King and I love her writing, and I would love to have every book that she's written in my collection. Does that mean I have to keep this exposed in my bookshelf, or can I store it? I think we're going to store it. Rebecca. This is such a good book. If you have not read Rebecca, especially now for fall, like spooky season, check it out. It is so good. The atmosphere is incredible. It's just eerie enough to keep you on your toes and keep you interested. Once you get like to the actual manor, it just gets better and better from there, I promise. The beginning is a tad bit slow, but once you get past it, it's so good. I do think I'm going to display this because the cover is beautiful. I love the like color palette that's going on with it. I think honestly I'm going to keep this in my bookshelf. Yeah. I got this in a little library, kind of because I was just like, hee hee ha ha, because it has like illustrations. I'm pretty sure this is like a comedy book. I don't really know. I just picked it up kind of because I could, but I'm definitely going to donate this back to a little library. I have no reason to keep this, although I am always overthinking, so we're going to donate that. 2 graphic novels I have, Dracula and Frankenstein. I have read both of these now. Obviously, we're going through my read pile. I don't don't know if I want to display these. I don't really like the spines. The covers are really cool, but there's no real way for me to like display that the way my bookshelf is right now. So I think I'm going to store them for now, but I would love to grow my graphic novel collection because I love them. I think they're so fun. The Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy from 2023. This has a physical copy of The Six Deaths of the Saint, which is my favorite writing of all time in humanity. It is by Alex E. Harrow. I love her. I love her writing, and I have been searching for a physical copy of The Six Deaths because aside from being in this collection, it is only on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, go read that book. It is my favorite thing to ever exist. I tried reading some of the other books in this collection. Short stories, not books, Taylor. Not. I didn't really like any of them. I think I might store this, to be honest. I think just knowing I have a physical copy of The Six Deaths is enough for me. And that one day when I have a bigger bookshelf and I can display things, this will obviously be out there and I will pick it up probably every week and reread The Six Deaths of the Saint. That's going in storage. Next up is Morbidly Yours. I really, really liked this. I gave it 5 stars. I loved the romance element of it. I loved the process you go through with our characters. I thought it was really well done. It gave depth to the characters without it just being kind of like a cheap romance. I really, really, really enjoyed this. Do I want to keep it in my collection? I honestly don't see myself rereading this, so I think donating it in a little library and giving somebody else the opportunity to read it because I enjoyed it so much honestly might be ideal. I think the vibes in this though for fall were so good. We're on the Irish coast, like he is a mortician. Need I say more? Definitely pick this one up if you haven't yet and add it to your TBR, but I do think I'm going to donate this to a little library so somebody else can have the opportunity to read it. Next up is one of my favorite books of all time, The Count of Monte Cristo. I can't believe I read this behemoth of a book in a few days, bro. Oh my god, I love this book. I have to keep this. I love this. Do I want a bigger copy of it? For sure, but I think that's a later in life thing. Keeping it and being proud of the fact that I read this is enough. I'm definitely going to keep this. The question is, do I want to display it? It makes me so happy just holding it. I just feel so like joyful inside. Considering the book, that's really interesting. Next up is Monsterilio, which I read in my Reading for 24 Hours vlog that I just posted last week. Go check that video out where I read this one. I honestly think there's a hair in my friggin' mouth. This might be in the same vein as Morbidly Yours, where I enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars, but I won't be rereading it anytime soon. And I would love to give somebody else the opportunity to check this book out and read it. I think we're gonna donate it to a little library. Oh, another one from that video is The Twilight Wife. I ranted and raved about this book. I swear, if you have not heard of this book before, let me introduce you. This is so good. I gave it 5 stars. One of the best thrillers that I have read. I thought the pacing was incredible. The characters were so real and believable. The twist was still twisty enough to make me go like, but I wasn't like, it wasn't unbelievable at the same time. It was like the perfect amount of like, it just had a great balance to it. So definitely add The Twilight Wife to your TBR. I recommend reading this pretty soon because it takes place in October. It's on the coast of Washington on an island where it's constantly rainy and dreary, and it's just so good. She's also a marine biologist, so there's elements of that in there. Just fantastic, 5 stars. But will I reread it? No. It's one of those things of like, should I keep it so I can show you guys in videos? I think I'm going to store it because I liked it so much. Maybe I will reread it next fall. Who knows, man? This was seriously that good of a book that I'm considering just keeping it and storing it. Yep, going in storage. Writers and Lovers. Probably my favorite Lily King book. I flipped through it and reread kind of the parts that I annotated and remembered the story and stuff like that. I'm not a rereader, so when I say I want to reread a book, that's insane. Just know that's how much I liked the book. Let me find a line that I can read you guys. This one like stung a lot. I hate old people. I hate anyone older than my mother who didn't get to become old. And so her mother passes away, and that's kind of the catalyst for the story. But yeah, that line hit real hard in the context of that far in, and I was like, I did read this one in Kayla and I's Reading for 24 Hours Straight vlog, which I will link for you if you want to go check it out. That's kind of why I want to reread it, because I blazed through it during that challenge. So a part of me wants to take time and just enjoy the writing and the story in my own timing. I think I'll display this one because, again, it's like my favorite Lily King, and I love this book cover more than anything. We're gonna display this in my bookshelf somehow. The last book on my read pile is Grimoire Noir, which I highly recommend for fall season. It is a graphic novel. It's got witchy vibes. It's just so good. This one is phenomenal. Highly recommend. It's just so pretty that a part of me wants to display this. Yeah, we're going to display this one on my bookshelf just because it's so beautiful, and I could definitely see myself picking it back up and flipping through it. You guys thought we were almost done, didn't you? Did you forget about this? Because I did. I am going to take the books that I mentioned. I'm going to store like my David Gemmell books, my Janet Ivanovich books, and pile those up with the other books that we are going to be storing. I will come back to you and we will figure out how the hell we are going to organize my books up there. Here they are, the books that I'm going to be keeping in my collection. I have 4 stacks of books like that high on the floor of ones that I'm going to be storing. I need to figure out how to put these books up in my bookshelf. I think I want to separate them into genres. That's usually how I organize my books. That I can think of off the top of my head. I have a lot of classics, fantasy, romance, literary fiction. So I'm going to separate those genres out and we'll figure out how we are going to put them up in my bookshelf. So I separated out all my books into different groups. We have romance way over here, you can't see. It's 4 books long. All of my classics, which as you can see, it's a lot, including these little ones. Then I have 2 graphic novels that I would love to keep in my collection. All of these are literary fiction / in my mind, like beautiful writing, if that makes sense. These are all of my black and gold books. That's about it. They differentiate between like children's like fairy tale world with really cool illustrations. Got the Hobbit illustrated edition, a Game of Thrones. This edition is like my favorite thing in the whole world. The flop. And then I have the Iliad and the Odyssey. Really no rhyme or reason with these books, but I just think they go together in color palette, so I like to keep those together. All of my fantasy books, which are this whole little section. So I think the biggest collection I have, well, I just really read like 3 different genres, which is these 3. The question is, how do we want to put them up there? I'd probably say the books I read the least is going to be fantasy. That's like, right now I haven't been in this type of a reading mode. I've more so been in a literary fiction, beautiful writing mode. So I think I will put the books I read least over here in the farthest cabinet, the books I read the most over there in that cabinet, and then in the middle, maybe we'll do classics. So I think that's where I'm gonna start, by putting my classics in the middle and just kind of branch out. Honestly, I think I'm going to snag a few books that are at like the top priority for my TBR that I can put over there by my desk, and then a couple others that I think would be pretty, like by the TV or in my bedroom. The black and gold I think would be cool to display, but they're such big books and they're really heavy. So I really think these ones are only gonna be ideal in my bookshelf. I'm just basically chatting because I don't want to do this part. That's enough talking. Let's get to organizing. Wow, guys, we really did it. I can't believe how long that took. That actually took me all day long, but I am so happy with my bookshelf now. Let's do a quick tour. Starting off in my fantasy section, where we of course have my 4 romance books tucked in the corner, and my little sea otter and my TBR jar. And from my fantasy section, we go into my dark toned classics. I just think they all looked good together. And then from there, we move on to my light-toned classics, and then we shift into my literary fiction, my poetry collection, and then of course my black and gold books, as well as some of my graphic novels. I love my bookshelf. I think it flows so well together, and honestly, I just couldn't be happier. I now have the 3 books underneath my TV, which I chose The Bell Jar, Nightingale, and Game of Thrones, which I think the color palette just works. I think the golds, browns, blues for a little pop, it just works for me. And then over here on my desk, I chose The Secret History, All Our Hidden Gifts, and Starling House, because they are 3 books that are on my TBR. They're ones that I know I probably won't actively go in and reach for in my library, so I wanted them beside me to haunt me every single time I sit down here at my desk. I actually feel excited to pick one of them up. I say this every time. I feel like, honestly, I think this may be my favorite way that I've organized my books in terms of the idea to actually put them in storage and then having some that are decor and are out and about. I did decide to donate 10 books to little libraries, so that'll be a video coming up soon. Make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications so you see when that video goes live. I wouldn't really say that how they are organized is my absolute favorite. I think I've had better organizations up there. The crazy thing was, as I was organizing, I realized how much more space I had than previous times, where before I think I would squeeze things in as compact as possible because I knew I had so many more books to put up there. This time I still had that mentality. I ended up with so much more room on the sides than I anticipated, so that's why I kind of had to reimagine how I want them to go. Am I totally set that that's how they're going to stay for the next couple weeks? Probably not. I can definitely see myself getting more books, especially because I'm donating 10 of them to little libraries. I will probably be getting 10 more books, hopefully, if I find really good ones. There's always room for growth. I think specifically on the left side where I have the black and gold section, I can add some more books there. But overall, I am very happy with the productivity level we had today. I think we accomplished a lot. Let me know if there are any books that you saw in my bookshelf that are on your TBR, or if they're books that you've read, if you think I will enjoy them. But that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you liked today's video, make sure to give it a like. Don't forget to comment down below. Make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!